The blood was still wet when Sarah saw it. Franklin Ridge High School was supposed to be quiet at 6:30 in the morning. Only janitors, a few teachers with coffee addictions, and the low hum of fluorescent lights. But on the main hallway board, outside the history wing, someone had written 3 words in thick crimson strokes. You owe me. Sarah froze just long enough to confirm it was real. Not paint, not marker. The smell was metallic, fresh. Her calm face did not change, but something behind her eyes sharpened, like a locked door unlatched. Jesus, Coach Ramirez stumbled in behind her, duffel bag in hand. What is that? Step back, Sarah said, voice low and controlled. Coach Ramirez did not move fast enough. Sarah grabbed his sleeve and pulled him away from the board before he touched anything. Then she saw the second detail. Under the words was a symbol, 4 small dots arranged like a rectangle with a slash through the center. Not random, not teenage drama. A code. Sarah turned her head slightly, scanning the hallway. Cameras in the corners, motion sensors above the exit, locked doors. The same routine every morning. And yet, this was the 4th Thursday in a row. Every Thursday, a blood message on the board. Every Thursday, the administration called it a prank. Every Thursday, the board got cleaned before students arrived. Every Thursday, the security footage malfunctioned. Sarah had been quiet about it until now, but this message had crossed a line. She stepped closer without touching the board and noticed something else. Faint streaks on the tile floor, like a dragged cloth or a knee. Someone did not just write it. Someone suffered while writing it. Coach Ramirez whispered, "You think it's a kid?" Sarah looked at him, calm, almost cold. "No, I think it's a warning." A door opened down the hall. Principal Edwin Mallory appeared, dressed too perfectly for dawn, sharp suit, perfect hair, the smile of someone who expected problems but never consequences. "What happened?" he asked, like he was reading from a script. Sarah did not answer immediately. She watched him watch the board. No surprise, no horror, just calculation. Mallory sighed dramatically. "Again, this is getting out of hand." "Out of hand?" Sarah asked softly. "Someone is bleeding in your school." Mallory's smile tightened. "Miss Collins, the police have already looked into this. There is no evidence of danger. The board is cleaned. Students never see it. We cannot panic the community." Sarah took a slow breath. Her past stayed buried only because she kept it buried. But the symbol, the 4 dots and slash, pulled on something old inside her, something tactical, something federal. She turned her head slightly and pointed to the faint streaks on the floor. "You missed that," she said. Mallory's eyes flickered down. For a split second, his face changed. Then it vanished. "Coach," Mallory said quickly, "escort Miss Collins to the faculty lounge. I will handle this." Sarah did not move. Instead, she walked toward the nearest hallway camera, tilted her head, and studied the lens. There was a tiny smear beneath it. Blood. Someone had touched the camera, not to break it, to blind it. Sarah's pulse stayed steady, but the danger in her posture rose like a shadow. Somebody in this building knew the system. Somebody planned this every Thursday, and somebody wanted Sarah to read the message, because she did. She whispered the words to herself again, barely audible. "You owe me." Then she looked at the symbol and remembered. By 7:15, the hallway looked innocent again. The board had been scrubbed clean, the tiles wiped dry, the air sprayed with lemon disinfectant strong enough to sting eyes. It was the kind of clean that only happened when someone was trying to erase more than blood. Sarah stood near the history wing door, holding her keyring like a weapon. She watched Mallory supervise the janitor personally. Not the head custodian, not the usual staff. A new man, middle-aged, thick arms, blank face, wearing a Franklin Ridge badge like he did not belong in it. Sarah took note of his boots, heavy work boots with a distinctive tread, the same tread pattern she had seen in the faint streaks on the tile. Mallory noticed her looking and stepped in front of her line of sight. "Miss Collins," he said politely, "I need you to focus on your teaching today." Sarah's lips barely moved. "I need you to tell me why the cameras fail every Thursday." Mallory's smile stiffened. "Technical issues. Every Thursday. Coincidence." Sarah's gaze stayed calm, but her words carried weight. Coincidence is what people say when they want everyone else to stop asking questions. Mallory leaned closer. "Be careful. This school is a community. Rumors can destroy reputations." Sarah looked him directly in the eyes. "So can blood." The principal straightened, as if refusing to acknowledge her. Just then, the security guard arrived, Darrell Banks. Stocky, tired, good-hearted in a job that drained him. He looked at the spotless board like it offended him. "This is insane," Banks muttered. "Fourth Thursday, same place." Sarah finally spoke to him instead of Mallory. "You saved any footage?" Banks shook his head, frustration twisting his face. "System glitch. It cuts out between 6:07 and 6:12. Only 5 minutes. That is the window." Sarah asked, "Who has access to the camera server?" Banks hesitated. "Me, IT contractor, principal." Sarah did not miss the hesitation. "And?" Banks sighed. "And Counselor Dawn Keene has admin privileges, too, for student safety monitoring." Counselor Keene was loved by parents, adored by students, always preaching emotional support like scripture. People like that made the best masks. The bell rang. Students began pouring in, hoodies, laughter, phones, backpacks thudding on lockers. No one knew they were walking through a crime scene. Sarah watched a smart junior, Lily Harper, stop near the board with a confused look. Lily frowned, eyes scanning as if she expected something to still be there. Then Lily caught Sarah watching and quickly looked away. That did not feel random. Sarah stepped toward Lily. "Miss Harper, a moment." Lily froze like a deer caught in headlights, then slowly walked over. "Yes, Miss Collins?" Sarah lowered her voice. "You expected to see something on that board." Lily swallowed. I do not know what you mean." Sarah's eyes stayed calm. "Then you won't mind telling me why you are shaking." Lily's breath hitched. Then Lily leaned in and whispered fast, terrified. "It happens every Thursday, but you already know. People talk. They say the school hides it. They say it's not paint." Sarah kept her expression controlled. "Who says that?" Lily's eyes darted toward the counselor's office at the end of the hall. "People who get called in. People who stop asking questions after." Sarah let the words settle. Then Lily did something even more dangerous. She slipped Sarah a folded scrap of paper, fast and subtle like a spy, and walked away without another word. Sarah waited until the hallway was busy, then unfolded it in her palm. 4 dots, a slash, and below it a sentence written in shaky pencil. "Check the basement file room before they move it." Sarah's stomach went cold. Franklin Ridge had a basement. Most students didn't even know it existed, and Sarah suddenly understood why the blood message felt personal, because whoever was doing this was trying to expose something, and someone else was desperate to keep it buried. Sarah waited until lunchtime. Schools had rhythms, waves of noise and silence. Lunch was the loudest wave, the perfect cover. She walked down the staff hallway, past the faculty lounge, past the trophy case, and into the restricted stairwell marked Authorized Personnel Only. The basement door at the bottom was supposed to stay locked, but when Sarah tested the handle, it turned. Unlocked. That was the first clue. Inside, the air changed. Cool, damp, smelling like old paper and disinfectant. Pipes ran along the ceiling like veins. The lights flickered as if reluctant to reveal what lived down here. Sarah's footsteps were silent. Her calm exterior remained intact, but internally her mind shifted into a mode she had not used in years. Scan. Listen. Count exits. She passed storage cages, broken desks, boxes of outdated textbooks. Then she found the file room. Metal cabinets, dusty shelves, a single desk with a computer that looked older than half the students upstairs. And the second clue was worse. Someone had been here recently. A chair pulled out, a cabinet drawer left half open. Sarah stepped closer, careful not to touch anything. She crouched, eyes tracking the floor. Boot prints. Heavy tread. The same kind as the janitor's. She opened the half-drawn cabinet slowly and saw folders with labels. Discipline records. Transfer requests. Special program participants. And one folder tucked deeper, without a label. That was never an accident. Sarah slid it out and opened it. Inside were student names, dozens, printed lists with codes beside them. A column marked eligibility, another marked clearance, and one marked disposition. Disposition. Not a school word, not a counseling word, a procurement word, a federal word. Sarah's heart stayed steady, but the danger climbed. Then she saw something that made her skin tighten. A sealed envelope inside the folder, stamped with the school's emblem. Sarah opened it. Inside was a flash drive and a single sheet of paper. Thursday program. Route A, Bus 12, 6:20 p.m., transfer complete. Sarah stared at the time. 6:20 p.m. After clubs, after tutoring, after late buses, when students disappeared in plain sight. A soft click echoed behind her. Sarah turned. The basement door had just closed, not slammed, closed gently, carefully. Someone controlled it. She stayed perfectly still, eyes on the dim hallway beyond the file room. Then a voice, calm and sweet, floated through the darkness. "Miss Collins," Counselor Dawn Keene said, "you really should not be down here." Sarah stood slowly, letting her body rise like a warning. Keene stepped into view wearing a fitted cardigan and a polite smile. In her hand was a keyring. Basement keys. Sarah did not flinch. "I could say the same thing about you." Keene chuckled softly. "I was hoping you would be sensible. You seem like such a stable presence for the students." "Then explain disposition," Sarah holding the folder up. "Explain Bus 12. The counselor's smile tightened like a wound being stitched closed. "That is confidential." "Confidential is different from criminal," Sarah replied. Keene's eyes flickered. Then she sighed like Sarah was the problem. "You are a teacher. You are not law enforcement." Sarah stepped closer, voice low and controlled. "You'd be surprised what I am." For the first time, Keene's calm mask cracked. Her gaze became colder, sharper. "You are going to put yourself in danger," Keene whispered. Sarah held up the flash drive. Too late. Someone already did. Keene's eyes tracked the drive like it was a grenade. Then she tilted her head. "You think those blood messages are trying to help you?" Sarah did not answer. Keene leaned in, voice almost kind. "They are not trying to help you. They are trying to recruit you. They want you to destroy this school." Sarah's stare did not move. "Then why are you the one trapping me in the basement?" The counselor's smile returned, small, controlled. I am not trapping you. I am protecting you." Then she lifted her hand and pressed a button on the wall. The lights in the basement shut off. Darkness swallowed the file room. And in that darkness, Keene whispered the final sentence like a threat and a promise. "Give me the drive, Sarah, or next Thursday the board will not be the only thing written in blood." Sarah did not panic. In the dark, panic was how people died. She stayed still, counting her breaths, listening for movement. The basement was not fully silent. Pipes ticked, the building breathed, distant footsteps trembled overhead. Then her fingers moved with precision. Phone out, screen brightness down, no flashlight. A soft glow lit her palm just enough to see the outline of the desk and cabinet. Keene's footsteps moved away slowly, confident Sarah would surrender. Sarah did not. She slid behind the metal file cabinet, using it as cover, and reached for the old desktop computer on the desk. The power was off, but the machine was connected to a network cable. That meant something else was running. A server, or a backup. Sarah pressed the power button. Nothing. The basement had been cut, but the network cable told her where to go. She followed it by touch along the desk, down the wall, toward a storage corner. Her shoes found a metal hatch on the floor, half hidden under stacked cardboard. A maintenance access panel. She lifted it just enough to see a dark crawl space and a blinking green light. Power source. Sarah slipped inside without hesitation. The crawl space smelled like earth and old wiring. She crawled forward, the green light leading her to a small junction box and a locked metal case. Inside the case, a compact DVR unit, security backup. Someone had installed their own recording system below the school cameras. Sarah's mouth tightened. This was bigger than some prank, bigger than student misbehavior. This was organized surveillance. She pulled a thin tool from her keychain, something most teachers did not carry, and popped the lock with quick, practiced precision. The DVR's tiny screen lit up, a list of files, dates, times, Thursdays. Sarah scrolled until she found today's time window, 6:07 to 6:12 a.m. Her breath slowed as the footage loaded. The hallway board appeared on screen, empty at first. Then, at 6:09 a.m., a figure walked into view wearing a janitor uniform and latex gloves. He moved like he knew cameras would fail. He pulled a small container from his pocket. Then he wrote, "You owe me." The strokes were deliberate, angry, almost trembling. But the most important detail was not the writing. It was what happened next. At 6:11 a.m., the janitor paused, looked directly up at the camera, this hidden camera, and lifted his glove. He tapped 2 fingers against his temple like a salute. Then he held up a badge, not a school badge, a private security badge with a logo Sarah recognized instantly, a company called Stonebridge Compliance, a company that did not do janitorial work, a company that did quiet investigations and cover-ups. Sarah's stomach turned. She copied the file to her phone using the DVR's USB port and the flash drive from the folder. Then she heard it, a soft scraping sound in the crawlspace entrance. Someone was opening the hatch. Sarah killed the DVR screen and flattened herself against the dirt, heart steady, mind racing. A beam of phone light swept inside. Counselor Keene's voice drifted down, sweet and cold. "Miss Collins, this is your last chance." Sarah waited until the light moved away. Then she slid forward like a shadow, quietly lifting the hatch from inside just enough to slip out behind stacked boxes. She was back in the basement, dark, but now she knew where she was going. She headed for the staircase. Halfway there, the lights snapped back on. Keen stood at the bottom step, blocking the exit, arms crossed as if she had been waiting. "You cannot take that out of here," Keen said softly. Sarah's gaze remained calm. "Watch me." Keen's smile faded. "You think you are the hero in this story, but heroes do not last long in Franklin Ridge." Sarah stepped closer, voice low. "Then you should have stopped writing in blood." Keen's eyes narrowed. "I did not write it." Sarah paused. "Then who did?" Keen leaned in and whispered a name like poison. "Mr. Porter." Sarah's mind snapped to the quietest man in the building, an older history teacher who had been transferred mid-semester, his classroom emptied overnight like he never existed. Keen's voice trembled with anger, not fear. Porter was supposed to stay silent. Now he wants revenge. He wants to burn us all. Sarah's stare did not move. "Then why are you the one trapping me in the basement?" The counselor's smile returned, small, controlled. "I am not trapping you. I am protecting you." Then she lifted her hand and pressed a button on the wall. The lights in the basement shut off. Darkness swallowed the file room, and in that darkness, Keen whispered the final sentence like a threat and a promise. "Give me the drive, Sarah, or next Thursday the board will not be the only thing written in blood." Sarah refused to be trapped like prey. She turned away from the stairs and moved deeper into the basement, forcing Keen to follow or lose control. Every step Sarah took made the counselor's expression tighten. The file room computer beeped faintly, power restored. The trap was not to keep Sarah down here forever. It was to isolate her. Keen said calmly, "You are making a mistake." Sarah did not slow. "No, you are." She reached the storage cages and pulled open a rusted gate with enough force to make it groan. Inside were outdated AV carts, theater props, rolled-up gym mats, and a locked steel door behind them, painted the same color as the wall, a hidden door made to blend in. Sarah's eyes sharpened. Keen's voice rose slightly. "Do not open that." Sarah looked at her with quiet certainty. "So there is a secret room." Keen stepped forward. "That room is not what you think." Sarah's hand slid to the lock. It was not a standard school padlock. It was a keypad lock. Modern, expensive. Someone invested money into hiding what was behind it. Sarah typed 4 dots and a slash, not literally, but the pattern the symbol suggested. 414141. The keypad flashed green. Keen's face changed. Sarah pushed the door open. Cold air hit her first, then the smell. Not rot, not death. Plastic, cleaning chemicals, fresh paint. The room was smaller than a classroom, but packed like a warehouse, shelves stacked with sealed boxes labeled with numbers, not names. On the far wall was a row of metal lockers. Each locker had a student ID photo taped to it. Sarah's stomach tightened. Lily Harper, Jacob Mills, Tessa Noyan, and many others. "Transfers," Sarah whispered. Keen's voice became sharp. "You do not understand." Sarah walked toward the lockers, heart steady, mind exploding with possibilities. She opened one. Inside were personal items, a backpack, a phone, a worn hoodie, evidence, trophies, or control. Sarah turned slowly. "Where are they?" Keen's eyes were fierce, almost defensive. "They are alive." Sarah's voice turned colder. "Not here." Keen stepped into the doorway like a guard. "You are poking into a system you cannot fight." Sarah lifted her phone. "Stonebridge Compliance. Why is their agent dressing as janitor and writing messages in blood?" Keen's lips pressed tight. "Because Porter is forcing him." Sarah paused. "Porter is alive." Keen hesitated, just half a second too long. That was enough. Sarah's past instincts activated fully. Lies lived in hesitation. She stepped closer. Porter did not vanish. He got erased. Keen's calm snapped into anger. Porter was unstable. He started asking questions. He was going to ruin everything. Everything, Sarah repeated. Like an operation. Keen's eyes flashed. Like protecting the school. Sarah laughed once, quiet, humorless. Do not insult me with that word. Then a voice came from inside the room, weak but real. Sarah. It was barely a whisper. Sarah spun. Behind the shelves in the far corner, a man sat on the floor, hands cuffed to a pipe. Older, thin, face bruised. Mr. Porter. His eyes were bloodshot but focused, like he had been waiting for her to find him. Keen's face drained. Sarah's voice stayed controlled, but it carried fury. You kept him here. Porter coughed. Not her alone. He looked at Sarah with desperate urgency. They move kids on Thursdays. Sarah knelt beside him quickly, checking the cuffs. Who are they? Porter's voice shook. Mallory, Keen, Banks too. Security and Stonebridge. Sarah's mind snapped. Daryl Banks. The guard who seemed sincere. The guard who knew the camera window. Porter swallowed hard, eyes glistening. They told me it was a scholarship pipeline, a special program, kids with bad homes, kids nobody would notice. Then I found the lists. Sarah's voice tightened. Disposition. Porter nodded weakly. They sell them. Silence hit like a gunshot. Keen whispered, That is not true. Porter erupted, voice cracking. It is true. You told me they would have better lives. You lied. Sarah's gaze turned lethal. She stood and faced Keen. You are trafficking students, Sarah said quietly. Keen's eyes filled with something. Fear, guilt, rage. You do not understand what kind of people fund this place. Sarah stepped forward. Then explain the blood. Porter lifted his chained hand, trembling. It was me. I used my own blood to force attention because nobody listened. Sarah's heart clenched, horror and respect at once. Porter looked at her like a lifeline. You have to stop Thursday. Sarah's eyes snapped to the sheet in the envelope. Bus 12, 6:20 p.m. And for the first time, Sarah felt time running out. Sarah moved fast. She did not waste emotion on fear. Fear was expensive. She focused on the mechanics, keys, exits, timing. She pulled a small multi-tool from her bag and worked on Porter's cuffs. Old pipe, standard chain. Keen watched, shaking now, voice tight. If you take him out, you are signing your own death warrant. Sarah did not look up. You should have thought of that before locking a man in a basement. Porter winced as the cuff snapped open. Sarah steadied him. Can you walk? Porter nodded weakly. Yes, but slow. Keen stepped forward, almost pleading. Sarah, listen. The people behind this, they are not just school administrators. They are donors, lawyers, county officials. You cannot win. Sarah stood tall, eyes cold. You confuse winning with survival. Keen's breath trembled. You think you are special because you see patterns. Sarah's voice stayed calm. I am special because I act. Keen's face hardened. Then she lifted her radio again. Sarah was ready. She moved like lightning, grabbed Keen's wrist and twisted it just enough to make the counselor gasp and drop the radio. Porter stared at Sarah like he had forgotten she was a teacher. Sarah leaned close to Keen's ear. Do not move. Keen's eyes filled with hatred. You cannot keep him alive. Sarah stepped back, picking up the radio. We will see. She pressed the transmit button. Banks, this is Collins. Static. Then Banks' voice came through, too calm. Ms. Collins, you are somewhere you should not be. Sarah glanced at Porter, guiding him. Basement, restricted storage. Counselor Keen initiated lockdown. I need the stairwell unlocked immediately. Banks paused. No. Sarah's jaw tightened. Banks continued, voice smooth. You did not have to make this complicated. You could have stayed quiet like everyone else. Porter's face collapsed. He is in it. Sarah kept walking, steering Porter toward the maintenance corridor. "If you touch a student, I will bury you." Banks laughed softly. "You are not the first person to threaten me. You will be the first teacher to learn what the basement really is." The radio clicked off. Keene whispered, barely audible, "You are not leaving." Sarah ignored her and pushed into the maintenance corridor. At the end was a door marked Boiler Room. Sarah opened it. Heat hit her like a wall. Pipes roared, fans rattled. It was loud enough to hide movement. She guided Porter through, using the noise as cover. Then she saw it, another camera. Not school, not district. A new black lens mounted on a pipe, blinking green. The hidden system again. Sarah angled Porter away from it, but she knew the truth. Someone was watching them in real time. They reached a second exit, a metal door leading to the loading dock. Sarah tested it. Locked from outside. Porter's breath became ragged. They will come. Sarah pulled out her phone, already recording. She had footage, files, names. But in this kind of case, proof was only useful if she lived long enough to deliver it. She opened the flash drive folder on her phone and scanned the list. Bus 12, Route A. She remembered. Franklin Ridge used Bus 12 for after-school academic transfers for special program students. It left from the back lot behind the gym. Thursday at 6:20. Keene's voice echoed faintly from the corridor. "Banks, she's moving him. She found the room." Sarah grabbed Porter's shoulder. "Porter, listen, I cannot carry you and fight." Porter nodded miserably. "I know." Sarah's eyes narrowed, thinking. Then she spoke quickly, purposeful. "When you wrote those blood messages, you left a symbol." Porter swallowed. "Yes." "What does it mean?" Porter's voice shook. "Locker coordinates. 4 lockers, 1/, a separation. It tells which cabinet holds which list." Sarah's mind clicked. Codes, patterns. This network relied on systems, which meant it could be broken by someone who understood systems. Sarah stared at the boiler room like it was a map. Then she made a decision. She took Porter's wrist and wrapped it with an old bandage from a first aid box on the wall. "You're going to look like a medical emergency." Porter blinked. "What?" Sarah grabbed a heavy wrench and slammed it into a pipe valve, releasing a burst of steam. An alarm started screaming. Sarah lifted her voice into the chaos. "Help! Someone call 911! Teacher down!" Keene's footsteps rushed closer, panicked now. Sarah whispered into Porter's ear. "When they come in, do not speak. Let them think you are unconscious." Porter nodded wide-eyed. Sarah stepped into the corridor, appearing frantic, voice trembling on purpose, perfect acting. "You have to help me. He collapsed. He's bleeding." And when Banks and Keene arrived, they did not see the predator. They saw a scared teacher. That was Sarah's advantage. Banks arrived first. He came fast, keys jingling, uniform tight across his chest, eyes scanning like a cop and a hunter at the same time. Behind him, Keene rushed in, her polished mask cracked. Sarah waved them over, face pale, crafted panic. "I tried to stop the bleeding. He just fell. Please." Banks stepped into the boiler room and immediately assessed Porter. He crouched, checking his pulse with professional speed. Too professional. "He is alive," Banks said. "Barely." Keene's voice trembled. "We have to move him before he talks." Banks looked at Sarah. "Ms. Collins, step out." Sarah backed toward the doorway, acting shaken. "Is he going to die?" Banks' voice was firm. "Step out." Sarah obeyed just enough to seem compliant, but she stayed close enough to hear. Banks leaned closer to Porter and whispered, "Where is the drive?" Porter stayed limp, breathing shallow. Banks' jaw tightened. He turned to Keene. "She has it." Keene hissed. "Then we take it." Sarah's stomach tightened. Confirmation. Banks rose and stepped toward Sarah, face calm like he was escorting her. "Ms. Collins," Banks said softly, "you are going to walk with me to the nurse's office." Sarah's eyes widened as if afraid. "Why? I did not do anything." Banks smiled. "Routine. You are in shock." Sarah nodded shakily and let him guide her through the corridor. As they walked, Sarah watched his hands. One hand held keys. The other hovered near his belt. Not a weapon belt. School security did not carry guns, but he carried something else. A zip-tie bundle. Restraints. Sarah's calm anger deepened. They passed the counselor's office. Sarah pretended to stumble. "Wait, my bag." Banks tightened his grip. "Keep moving." Sarah forced her breathing to stay uneven, acting. Then she glanced into the open counselor office door and saw what she needed. Keen's computer was awake. On her desk was a folder marked Student Wellness. Beneath it, a thinner folder with no label. Sarah's instincts screamed. The unlabeled folder again. Banks pulled her forward. Sarah did not resist. Not yet. Inside the nurse's office, the nurse was not there. Lunch break. Perfect. Banks shut the door. The lock clicked. Sarah's heart stayed steady. Her face stayed frightened. Banks turned slowly, smiling like a man who believed the world belonged to him. "You should have stayed in your classroom." Sarah swallowed hard, eyes wide. "Please, I did not mean." Banks stepped closer. "Where is the drive?" Sarah held up her hands. "I do not know what you are talking about." Banks sighed, disappointed. "Do you know what happens to teachers who start investigating student transfers?" Sarah whispered. "They get fired?" Banks laughed quietly. "No, they vanish." Sarah's eyes widened just enough to sell fear. Then she asked, softly, "Like Porter?" Banks' expression tightened. Porter was supposed to be a lesson. Sarah nodded slowly, as if breaking. Okay, I have it." Banks leaned forward, hungry. "Good." Sarah reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. She pressed play. The video of the janitor writing in blood filled the room. The hidden camera, the Stonebridge badge, the deliberate message. Banks froze. His smile died. Sarah's voice dropped, calm, cold, true. "Stonebridge compliance. That is who you really work for." Banks stepped back like he had been exposed. "You do not know what you are doing." Sarah's eyes sharpened. "I know enough." Banks lunged for her phone. Sarah moved first. She drove her elbow into his wrist, twisting hard, forcing the keys to drop. She stepped in close, controlled, and slammed him into the supply cabinet. Bottles rattled, a thermometer fell. Banks grunted, surprised. Sarah whispered close to his ear, "You think because I am quiet, I am weak." Banks snarled and shoved her back. Sarah staggered intentionally, then snatched the keys. Banks went for her again, but Sarah darted past him and unlocked the door in one motion. She ran straight to Keen's office. She did not have time to be gentle. She entered, slammed the door, and locked it. Then she went to the desk and opened the unlabeled folder. Inside were printed spreadsheets with donor names, payments, coded student IDs, and a document titled Thursday Program, Client List. Client. Sarah's hand tightened around the pages. She scanned names: local business owners, a county judge, a private adoption attorney, and one name that froze her blood: Edwin Mallory, not just principal, client. Sarah's breath steadied as a new truth formed. Mallory wasn't covering this up, he was buying into it. A pounding hit the office door. Banks shouted, "Open it, Sarah." Sarah did not flinch. She grabbed Keen's stamp, slammed it on top of the page, then folded the paperwork and shoved it into her bag. Then she looked at Keen's computer screen. A live camera feed. Basement, hidden room, Porter, and Keen standing over him now, no kindness left, only fury. Keen held something in her hand, a syringe. Sarah's stomach dropped. She ran. Sarah sprinted down the hallway like she was late for the most important class of her life. The school around her stayed normal, students laughing, teachers yelling about phones, lockers slamming like gunfire in a harmless war. Nobody knew a trafficking operation was breathing beneath their feet. Sarah reached the boiler room corridor. Her heart pounded harder now, not from fear, but from time. She heard voices ahead, Keen's sharp whisper, Porter's muffled struggle. Sarah pushed into the boiler room. Steam hung in the air. Porter lay half on his side, shaking, eyes wide. Keen crouched beside him with the syringe poised like mercy. Sarah's voice snapped, controlled and lethal. Step away from him. Keen spun, startled. Her mask was gone now, only panic and anger. You ruined everything, Keen hissed. Sarah moved between Keen and Porter, body blocking. You ruined everything the moment you touched a child. Keen's hand trembled. You think you can expose this? You think anyone will believe you? They will call you crazy. They will call you obsessed. They will destroy you. Sarah reached into her bag and held up the client list. They will destroy you first. Keen froze. Then she did something Sarah did not expect. She smiled. Not innocent, not polite, predatory. You do not realize. You are already too late. Sarah's blood went cold. What do you mean? Keen lifted her phone and showed a message. Bus 12 departed 6:14 p.m. Sarah's eyes widened. Porter coughed out, "No, no." Sarah's brain recalculated instantly. The paper said 6:20 p.m. They moved it early because Sarah found the room. Sarah clenched her jaw and grabbed Porter under his arm. "Can you walk now?" Porter nodded weakly, forcing himself up. Keen stepped back, laughing quietly. "They will not stop for you. They never do." Sarah stared at her with ice in her voice. "Then I will not stop for them." She hauled Porter toward the corridor. Keen shouted after her, voice cracking, "You will get yourself killed." Sarah did not answer. She moved Porter through the maintenance hallway, up the restricted stairwell. The door was still locked. Sarah slammed the keys into the lock until it turned. They burst out into the empty gym hallway. Sarah's eyes scanned. After-school programs had ended. The building was quieter now. That made everything more dangerous. They reached the backlot exit. Outside, dusk was fading into night, the sky bruised purple, and in the far distance Sarah saw it. Bus 12, rolling away from the curb like it was just another normal route. Sarah's breath caught. She ran, pulling Porter as far as he could go. Then she shoved him behind a dumpster near the loading dock. "Stay," she ordered. Porter grabbed her sleeve. "Sarah, do not." Sarah looked at him, eyes fierce. "If I do not stop that bus, there is no point saving you." Then she sprinted toward the lot. Her shoes slammed asphalt. Cold air burned her lungs. The bus's red taillights blinked like mocking eyes. Sarah pulled out her phone and dialed 911. It rang and rang. Then a recording, "All operators are currently busy." Sarah swore under her breath and kept running. The bus reached the gate at the edge of the school property. The security gates started opening automatically. Someone was waiting for it to leave clean. Sarah was too far to stop it physically, so she did something dangerous. She veered toward the security booth by the gate. Inside was a small control panel and a camera monitor. The booth was empty. Sarah yanked the door open and slammed her hand down on the control panel, searching. Open, close, lock. She hit lock. The gate froze halfway. Bus 12 stopped hard, brakes screeching. A silhouette appeared in the driver's seat, turning, confused. Sarah ran toward the bus door. The driver opened it halfway, shouting, "Hey, who are you?" Sarah climbed the first step and saw the driver's face, not a district employee. Older man, Stonebridge badge clipped on his shirt. "Get off," he barked. "You cannot be here." Sarah's voice was sharp. "Open the back." The man smirked. "Lady, you have no idea what you are messing with." Sarah stepped closer, eyes cold. "Oh, I do." Then she grabbed the driver's badge, yanked it forward, and read his name.
Henry Vale. She memorized it instantly. She reached for the emergency release bar. Henry grabbed her wrist. Sarah drove her knee into his shin, forcing him to release. Then she flung the emergency door open, and the world inside the bus made her blood turn to ice. The back seats were empty, but the floor panel had been removed, a hidden compartment, a trap door, and beneath it, darkness. The kids were not on the bus. The bus was just the decoy. Sarah stood at the edge of the trap door, staring into the void, realizing the twist of the knife. They never needed a bus to move students. They needed a tunnel.
She forced herself to breathe. Then she climbed down. The compartment led to a metal ladder bolted into concrete. The air below smelled damp, like soil and old water. Her phone flashlight cut through the dark as she descended. At the bottom was a tunnel, narrow, unfinished concrete with pipes overhead, a hidden passage running under the school. Her voice was barely a whisper. "You built an underground route?" Footsteps echoed ahead. Not hers. Multiple. Men. Sarah moved quietly, scanning for cover. A side alcove held stacked crates and a rolling cart. She crouched behind it and watched the tunnel bend. Then she saw them. 2 Stonebridge men in dark jackets. One carried a clipboard, the other carried a small cooler, and between them walked a teenage girl with her hands zip-tied. Lily Harper. Lily's face was pale, eyes wide, mouth taped. Sarah's stomach dropped. Lily had warned her. Lily had tried to help, and now Lily was paying the price. Sarah's hand tightened around her phone. She could rush them, but she was alone. She needed leverage. She watched as the men stopped at a steel door embedded in the tunnel wall, secured with another keypad. One man typed a code. The door opened into a bigger underground room. Sarah caught a glimpse inside before it shut. Rows of chairs, a metal table, file cabinets, and a large whiteboard with names. This was not a tunnel. It was an underground processing room. The men pushed Lily inside. Sarah moved forward, silent, careful. She reached the keypad after they entered and studied it. Finger smudges on certain keys. A common code pattern. She tried the simplest, 0612, the camera outage window. Red. She tried 0620, green. The door clicked. Sarah slipped inside. The room was brighter, run by generators, clean, too clean, like a place designed to look legal. On the wall was a printed schedule. Thursday, Route A, transfer window. Signature required, Mallory. Sarah felt rage sharpen. Then she heard voices from behind a glass partition. She crept toward it and looked through. Inside the adjacent room were 3 people. Principal Mallory, a man in a suit with an expensive watch, and Counselor Keene, now composed again, her smile reattached. Mallory was speaking calmly as if discussing budgets. "We will accelerate tonight. The teacher has become a variable." Mallory replied. Keene replied, "She is not a variable anymore. Banks will handle it." The suited man asked, "And the girl, the one who leaked?" Keene's smile turned cold. "Lily Harper will be reassigned permanently." Sarah's stomach twisted. Then she saw Lily, sitting on a chair in the corner of the processing room, trembling, eyes begging. Sarah whispered to herself, "Not happening." She scanned the room quickly. A fire alarm pull station near the door, a rack of keys hanging on the wall, and a small cabinet labeled "Transport Documents." Sarah moved like a shadow. She grabbed the key ring from the wall, dozens of keys, tagged with codes. Then she yanked open the transport cabinet. Inside were envelopes, clipboards, and a sealed folder labeled "Thursday Client Pickup Location B." Sarah opened it. A map, a warehouse location 10 miles away, and a list of receivers with arrival times. Sarah copied everything with her phone. Then she pulled the fire alarm. The siren did not blare upstairs. It blared down here.
a hidden alarm for hidden operations. Lights flashed red. Men shouted. One of the Stonebridge workers ran for the door. Sarah rushed to Lily, ripped the tape from her mouth, and cut the zip ties with her tool. Lily gasped, sobbing, "Miss Collins!" "Run with me," Sarah ordered. They sprinted for the tunnel exit, but as they turned the corner, Banks stepped into the hallway, blocking them. In his hand was a pistol, real gun, not school security. His voice was calm. "I told you, teachers vanish." Sarah froze, shielding Lily behind her. Banks aimed at Sarah's chest. Then he smiled slightly. "You know what is funny," he said. "You actually could have joined us." Sarah's eyes stayed cold. "I would rather die." Banks' smile widened. "Great, make it easy." And in that moment, Sarah realized the biggest truth of all. The school was not the operation. The school was the front, and the tunnel was only one branch of something much larger.
Neither did Banks. The tunnel air felt heavy, like the ground itself held its breath. Lily whimpered behind Sarah, shaking so hard her teeth clicked. Banks kept the gun steady. "Give me the drive and the folder." Sarah's mind raced through options. No exits behind them without passing Banks. No help coming. The underground alarm meant nothing if the same people controlled the response. Then Sarah noticed something small but deadly. Banks's pistol was in his right hand, but the finger placement was wrong, slightly tense, not trained, not a lifelong shooter. Sarah spoke calmly, buying seconds. "You are not Stonebridge." Banks's jaw tightened. "What?" "You are a middleman," Sarah said. "They hand you a badge and a gun and you think you belong." Banks laughed once, sharp. "I belong because I am useful." Sarah nodded slowly. "And because you have something on them." Banks's eyes flickered. That was the crack. Sarah leaned into it. "Mallory thinks you are disposable." Banks's voice dropped. "Shut up." Sarah kept her tone flat and sure. "Keene started this. You are just the muscle, the fall guy." Banks's hand tightened. "I said shut up." Sarah's eyes stayed locked on his. "You want to know who wrote the blood on the board?" Banks hesitated. Sarah continued softly. "Porter, with his own blood, he did not write it to threaten Mallory." Banks's brow tightened. "Then why?" Sarah held his stare. "He wrote it for you." Banks blinked. "What?" Sarah's voice became sharper, cutting. "Porter knows your secret, the one you think Keene keeps hidden." Banks swallowed. Sarah's mind snapped to the client list again. A name stood out, not just Mallory. Banks's name was there too, not as staff, as client. Sarah delivered the final strike. "You are not protecting kids. You are buying them." Banks's face drained of color. Lily, behind Sarah, gasped softly, horrified. Banks's gun trembled for the first time. "That is not—" Sarah stepped closer, not afraid. "That is why the message says, 'You owe me.'" Banks's lips parted. His eyes looked lost, like a man who realized the mirror was real. Sarah whispered, "Porter found out you took one of them." Banks's breathing broke, and that was the moment Sarah needed. She moved, fast, precise. She slapped the gun barrel sideways and drove her shoulder into Banks's chest, slamming him into the tunnel wall. The shot fired, sparking off concrete, deafening. Lily screamed. Sarah twisted Banks's wrist hard until the pistol clattered to the floor. She kicked it away, then pinned him with her forearm across his throat. Banks struggled, choking. "You—" Sarah leaned close, voice ice. "You will tell me where location B is secured." Banks spat, eyes wild. "You cannot stop it. Even if you expose Mallory, the donors, the clients, they will bury you." Sarah tightened her grip. "Try me." Then a new sound echoed through the tunnel. Footsteps. Many. Stonebridge men rushing back. Sarah grabbed Lily's hand and ran. They sprinted through the tunnel, up the ladder, into the bus compartment. Sarah slammed the trapdoor shut. Outside, the back lot was empty. The gate was still half locked. Sarah dragged Lily toward the security booth and grabbed the radio mic. Her voice was steady now, commanding, authoritative, not teacher soft. "All units, this is Collins," she said, using the tone of someone who had done this before. Active kidnapping pipeline, tunnel under Franklin Ridge, suspect Edwin Mallory, counselor Don Keene, security Darrell Banks. I have a victim with me, I have documents. Static answered. Then a calm, unfamiliar voice responded, not school staff. Copy that, Agent Collins, we have eyes on your location. Sarah froze. Agent? Lily stared at her. Miss Collins, what did he call you? Sarah's jaw tightened. She looked toward the tree line beyond the lot. 2 black SUVs sat hidden near the service road, headlights off, engines running. In the nearest vehicle, a man held binoculars and watched the school like he owned it. Sarah's past was not just investigation, it was active. And the biggest twist hit her like cold water. Stonebridge was not the mastermind. Stonebridge was contracted, and someone inside federal-level operations had been using Franklin Ridge as bait. Sarah pulled Lily close and whispered, "Stay behind me." Then Sarah raised her hand toward the SUVs, not waving, not surrendering, a signal. The SUVs surged forward, and as sirens began to scream in the distance, Sarah realized the truth she had avoided for years. She did not stumble into this case. This case finally found her.